So the judge let me keep the squirrel, but now I'm permanently banned from Walmart. Oh hi, you're watching a show with Zay Frank.
KMJVT11 asked, so what's a signed signature? Ah, good question. It reminds me of this story about a Japanese nobleman. I don't really know what they're called, but the point is that he's powerful, and one day he decides he wants a painting of a lily, so he asks the best brush painter in Japan to paint him one. Weeks go by, then months go by, and the nobleman doesn't hear a thing, so he decides to ride up into the mountainside where the painter lives to confront him directly. So he bangs on the door, and when the painter answers, he says, I asked you to paint me a lily months ago. Where is it? The painter just silently nodded, took a piece of paper, and drew the most beautiful lily on it and handed it to the nobleman. The nobleman looked at it and said, what the hell, man? I just waited for 2 months. I ride up here on my horse and it takes you 2.5 seconds to paint this lily. The painter smiled, walked to a closet, opened it up, and thousands of pictures of lilies fell to the floor. So what's a signed signature? Your signature is the first piece of art that you ever created. Think of all the time that you spent practicing it, that gorgeous little workhorse mark of your identity. A signed signature is your chance to show it some respect. Take a brush pen or a paintbrush with paint and draw it really large on a nice piece of paper. Look at the shape of those curves, those lines. Look at all the history in that. That's yours. That's you. And when you're finished, sign it. And then use your finishing stamp. So what's a finishing stamp? A finishing stamp is a stamp that goes alongside your signature and says, I'm finished. But how do you know when you're finished? I remember an old painting teacher of mine saying, you go back into it and just keep on working, and then all of a sudden you'll know when you're done. That's ridiculous. Under that strategy, I would have painted one painting and it would have taken my entire life. That makes me think of Walt Disney and the process that he would use when he was working on one of his animated picture films. A colleague of Disney's once said there were actually 3 different Walts: the dreamer, the realist, and the spoiler. You never knew which one was coming into your meeting. Now, I think a lot of people do this unconsciously, but Disney had separated his process into 3 distinct parts. 1, the dreamer. The dreamer can think anything he wants, wide open, blue sky, big, little, crazy. Then there's the realist, the pragmatist. He looks into costs and materials and times and focuses on getting it done. And then there's the spoiler, who looks at your work like this. The critic, the skeptic, the ugly, the nasty. The process for Disney was bouncing back and forth between those voices until there was a little bit of an argument. The dreamer tells the realist what to do, the realist does it, then the spoiler tells him that it's full of crap, and it goes back to the dreamer again. Around and around and around until time runs out or the spoiler has nothing left to say. When the spoiler has nothing left to say, when does that happen? My internal critic's an asshole, and when I get closer and closer to finishing a project, that voice gets louder and louder and louder. My internal critics are shadows of old teachers and bullies and bad interactions from the past. And as I'm about to finish something and push it out into the world, those voices jeer and jab and push me around. And that's where your FILDI comes in handy. You keep them in a cage while you try to do the best you can with the time you have and the resources that are available. But when you're getting close and the edits that you're making are small and weird, and there's a voice inside your head that says, maybe I shouldn't even release this at all, that's when you let the FILDI out of the cage and you stamp that shit. That's why you need a finishing stamp. And someday, when you realize that your stamp has done you right, you're gonna make a stamped stamp to honor it, just like you did your signature. So when you finished your finishing stamp, go to your profile on show.zayfrank.com and add it there. It's the only way that you'll get assigned a gavel. And now Stefan Bucher makes a solution.
Joseph writes, I'm fighting the growing anxiety that I may not be sharp enough to handle any of the comp-sci PhD programs which have accepted me. At the same time, my current job is unfulfilling and frustrating. Joseph, I know what that feels like, not the comp-sci part, but the imposter syndrome, so I've written out a little message for you. Just put that up on your screen and read it every day. And congratulations on getting accepted.
Bye bye, it's the bye bye song.
And by the way, every piece that gets displayed at the 1 month museum will have to have a finishing stamp on it.